Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Pauper Ponderings. Before we get into some Cascade Aggro, a couple announcements. Obviously, if you would like to win this land tax print by Chuck Lucas, make sure you comment down below. That gets you one ballot. Also, if you have not commented on last week's video, Rats, go comment on that video. That also gets you one ballot. I will be announcing the winner of the land tax print next week, as well as start the other contest for my other print, which is over here. I'm not going to tell you. It is done by Chuck Lucas, though, so if you want to take some guesses, that would be great. That would be a good comment, actually. The other thing I need to talk about is the Pauper Ponderings Tournament of Favorites. These are the 16 most popular decks in Pauper Ponderings history, and I have made them out into a bracket. So, what I need you guys to do to earn yourselves another ballot to win this beautiful print is go to this link right here. That's the straw poll for this week's batch of decks. So, this week, you're going to be voting on Lantern Control versus Orzhov tokens. So Lantern Control was the Thought Picker Witch, Ivy Lane Denizen, Carrion Feeder, Renclaw combo deck, and Orzhov tokens. So that was the Go Wide strategy with Harsh Sustenance and Foul Tongue Shriek. You're also going to be voting on Belcher or One Land Spy versus Orzhov Zombies. The Orzhov Zombie decks had cards like Ghoul Razor, as well as some of the standouts from Amon-Ket block. You're also going to be voting on Zuberas. That was a really, really sweet deck. It's one of the one seeds, I guess you could say. It's going up against Lumberjacks, which was the Orcish Lumberjack deck where you power out really big, fast creatures. We also have Is It Burn, kind of the Thermo Alchemist with the Brainstorms and, you know, that kind of thing, going up against Goblin Storm. So you're going to vote on those four matchups. Again, at this link right here, this straw poll link. We're going to go over the results next week, as well as give away this land tax print to everyone who, again, the winner. You got to vote for commenting last week, you get a ballot for commenting this week, and you get a ballot for voting in the straw poll, which is right here. So, make sure you do those three things. You can be walking away with this beautiful print. Next week, we're going to be announcing our next print, as well as doing the second half of the first round. We're going to see some results from last week, but without further ado, let's get into some Cascade Aggro. Alright, so here we have Cascade Aggro, or Hushblade Zoo, or whatever you want to call it. It's a Gruul aggro deck kind of built around the combo, I guess, of the cycle of creatures from Shards of Alara that get +1/+1 and an ability when you have another multicolor permanent. So we have 4 copies of Naya Hushblade. So this is essentially red and a green for a 2/1, and it gets +1/+1 and Shroud if we control another multicolored permanent. Jund Hackblade is a 3/2 if we have another multicolored permanent and has haste. Then we also have 4 copies of Ripclan Crasher. It's just a bear with haste. We also obviously have 4 Burning-Tree Emissary. It's going to allow us to really go wide quickly. In terms of our 1-drops, we have 4 copies of Kird Ape, we have 2 copies of Frenzied Goblin, and then we have some Mogg Fanatics. Then we'll also supplement it with Lightning Bolts and Rancors. We also have 3 copies of Violent Outburst, kind of where the Cascade part of the name comes from. Just a very powerful card. You don't get a lot of Cascade spells in Moderns, or in Pauper, so the fact that we get to play one is pretty powerful. And then we're playing 3 copies of Goblin Heelcutter. So this is essentially 3 mana 3/2 when it attacks, haste, when it attacks a target creature can't be blocked. So, gonna do a good job of getting our Hackblades and our Naya Hushblades through. And finally, actually kind of the coolest card in this deck is Firewild Borderpost. So this is 1 green-red for an artifact. It enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it for a red or a green. But the cool thing is you can actually pay 1 and return a basic land you control to your hand, rather than pay its mana cost. So what you really want to do is on turn 1, play a basic into a Borderpost, and then on turn 2, either have Ripclan Crasher, Jund Hackblade, or Naya Hushblade in play. That's kind of the combo of this deck. Now, this deck has been played a lot. It's been talked about on the Pauper subreddit as well. Ross Merriam has played it on SCG Versus. I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to give it a try. That's why I'm playing it this week. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I think this deck is really cool. It's doing a lot of powerful stuff. Sideboard's pretty standard. There's a couple standouts, though. We have 3 copies of Flame Slash, 2 copies of Blazing Volley, as opposed to Electrickery. I guess Jace being a little cheaper is better than the instant speed, apparently. 2 copies of Ancient Grudge because we're a red-green deck. 2 copies of Tangle. We also get the newly common Mark of Mutiny, which is always nice to have this type of effect in a red deck. And then finally we have Yavimaya Barbarian. This card's really cool. It's a common from Invasion. It's just red and a green for a 2/2 with protection from blue. So being able to play this down against Delver is going to be huge. They're not going to be able to really do anything against it. And yeah, let's play some games, guys. Alright, so we're here for game number 1. We won the die roll. So here you can see kind of what we're trying to do. We have the mountain with the border post. So we're able to play a Hackblade on 2 that can attack, which is huge for us, and that's what we end up doing. Play the border post. Our opponent is on what looks to be Boros Sideboard. We have a Jund Hackblade on turn 1 and attack him for 3. On his turn 2, he plays a Glinthawk. For some reason, the animation's not showing up. There it is. Our turn, we cycle Ash Barrens, play a forest, and then figure that we play a... So here's what our theory was here. If he ends up blocking, we have, 4 permanents in play, he has 1, and we thought that that was a pretty good trade to make. He ends up actually having the Lightning Bolt, unfortunately, and not blocking, so he goes to 14. He untaps, has a Galvanic Blast for our other Hackblade, casts a Radiant Fountain, goes up to 16, and attacks us down to 18. Luckily, we have a pretty decent follow-up in Heelcutter plus Kird Ape, which is pretty decent. This deck does a good job of, it doesn't have that many lands in only 18, but with the border posts, you actually do a pretty good job of actually having a lot of mana sources in play to be able to cast Heelcutters multiple turns in a row. So here he Core Skyfishers back the Radiant Fountain and does not attack. So on our turn, we play the Heelcutter. Having the second Heelcutter here makes it so we're much likelier to be in to trade this Heelcutter for this Glinthawk. We're very rarely going to be able to get 2 Heelcutters into play at the same time, so making this trade is really not that bad for us. Here, and he does decide to take the block, goes down to 11, and cast another Kird Ape. This sets us up very well to Heelcutter him again next turn, even with the Skyfisher. Again, he does not attack on our turn. We have Violent Outburst, and we decide to cast the Violent Outburst here. Luckily, it hits us a Lightning Bolt. I actually don't know if that was correct. The Violent Outburst is kind of an interesting spot in this deck. You don't have a lot of great hits in even board states, so luckily that worked out pretty well for us here. He can't block, and then we play a Mogg Fanatic. Plays his Radiant Fountain again, goes up to 9, then casts an Electric on our Mogg Fanatic, which we shoot him down to 8. And casts another Skyfisher, bringing back the Radiant Fountain. So our turn, we draw Burning-Tree Emissary. We actually get to go Burning-Tree Emissary plus Heelcutter. Get in with all 3 of our creatures. This puts him down to 3. Actually, he goes for the block on the Kird Ape instead of trading with the Heelcutter, which we were actually pretty happy about. Goes back up to 5. Turn, we find a Rancor. We put the Rancor on the Burning-Tree Emissary just because, again, it's the least valuable creature that we have. And that's really important with Rancor. Even if he does kill it, it feels better than having him Lightning Bolt this thing rather than one of our 3, kind of beefier or more efficient creatures. So he, for some reason, decides to Galvanic Blast our Burning-Tree Emissary after we equip it. We attack, make his Core Skyfisher not able to block. He blocks, goes down to 1. We have the Rancor in hand, the Radiant Fountain. Another one brings him up to 3. He once again can't attack. We find the Lightning Bolts, so we play super safe here. We attack him. He has the Galvanic Blast for our Kird Ape, and then we Lightning Bolt him in response. That was game number 1. Alright, so game number 2, we're on the draw. We have to mulligan that hand. But here again, see, we keep this hand. It's pretty decent. We have, essentially 2 lands with a Hushblade. The Rancors always have just really looked bad when we had the Hushblade in hand, but it's kind of just how it goes. Luckily, we draw a Hackblade. His turn, he casts a Lone Missionary. We then have Burning-Tree Emissary into Hushblade, and we pass. He plays a Core Skyfisher, bounces the Emissary, and passes. We go ahead and take the opportunity to Flame Slash his Core Skyfisher. Basically, while we brought that card in, we attack him for 5. He Lightning Bolts our Burning-Tree Emissary. We don't have a follow-up play, though, because we did not draw our 3rd land. He then casts his Lone Missionary again, goes up to 26. Turn, still don't draw the third land. So this time we attack with the Hushblade. He takes the trade. We cast another Hushblade and pass. He sanctifies our Borderpost, basically making it so we can't cast any more spells. It also turns off our multicolor, so our Hushblade's only a 2/2, cannot even attack into the core sanctifiers, and we pack it up. Alright, game number 3 on the play. Again, we keep this hand. Firewild Borderpost allows us to cast this Kird Ape as a 2/3. We have 2 Lightning Bolts and a Violent Outburst. Pretty happy with this hand. Now, you may be wondering why I recorded these. These games actually ended up being very, very grindy, and we had very slow opponents. And unfortunately, this week, a little tight for time, so I didn't have a lot of time to edit the main matches. So that's why we're kind of on this schedule. So here we end up casting the Violent Outburst. The Violent Outburst finds a Rancor, which is pretty decent. We're able to put it on the Kird Ape and get in there for a 8 damage, sorry, due to the Violent Outburst. I thought it was 6. There's Windscarred Crag back up to 20. And then he casts Circle of Protection Red. So this game was, let's just say, painful. We're able to get in for a bunch of damage here. Put him to 13. This was the game where I kind of just, it was really disheartening. He had the Radiant Fountain, he then played a Glinthawk, and now basically the game is over. Unfortunately, all of our creatures are red, and we don't have any sort of enchantment removal, and even the Circle of Protections get around Shroud, so it is quite difficult. The game kind of, well, this is basically it. At one point, we think that we possibly can get him to time out, and we get pretty close, but he ends up having the removal, or the Galvanic Blasts to blast us away to end the game. So, we'll go to round number 2, unfortunately. Not the best start for us, but I think still pretty decent. Alright, so for round number 2, on the draw, again, we have that Borderpost in our opener. So we see here that we see that we're playing against Mono Black, and we have a bunch of Hushblades. So we're pretty confident in what was going to happen. We lead on a Hushblade. He ends up having Chainer's Edict on his turn. So away it goes. Our turn, we play a Hackblade and get in for 5. Puts him down to 15. His turn, he has the removal spell for the Hackblade. The Rancor comes back. Simply cast out another Hushblade. Cycle Ash Barrens, he has the Guess Verdict. So really doing a good job of keeping our Shroud threats in check. And there's a Chittering Rats. We should have waited on the Ash Barrens, but I don't think I would have wanted to shuffle any of these cards away anyways. So here we're able to jam out double Hushblade. But here's kind of the problem. If we don't have a removal spell, the Chittering Rats just gets to trade with one of them, unfortunately. Lays down another Chittering Rats. We kind of have Chittering Rats protection in this Violent Outburst, as it's able to cascade into a Kird Ape. The Kird Ape is able to wear a Rancor quite efficiently. We can't really attack into the Chittering Rats. We thought about it, but putting ourselves down to essentially no cards. And here this Grey Merchant really does a number on us, putting us down to 13. We don't really have any more good attacks. This Kird Ape can attack in. He double blocks. We kill the Grey Merchant. Able to play this Rip Clan Crasher. And put a Rancor on it, which is not too bad. So we have a 4/2, but all of these X2s are just so able to get disfigured so easily. It's just such a beating. Now we're stuck with this Rancor we can't cast. He actually gets aggressive, puts us down to 9. We draw a Lightning Bolt, which is, you know, fine, a little bit late. Start the beats, put him down to 18. He finds a Thorn of the Black Rose, which basically sums up our fate, giving him, you know, giving him the Monarch ability. I don't know why the picture's not working again. And at this point, we realize it's going to be over. He's drawing 2 cards a turn off of Thorn. And, yeah, that'll do it. We'll go off to game number. So, we end up mulling down to 6. Again, keep a decent hand. We have Firewild Borderpost plus Kird Ape and Naya Hushblade. He has Bojuka Bog. Obviously doesn't do anything. We untap, play out a Kird Ape, and equip it with a Rancor. And ship the turn. So we're looking pretty decent here. But he has the Chainer's Edict on our turn. We go ahead and cast the Hushblade. So the thing with Hushblade is that the card has looked like it should be good, but has really not looked as good as I wanted it to be, I guess, if you can say anything here. I guess maybe the matchups that we played against were not the greatest, but there's so many Chainer's Edicts running around Pauper that normally the fact that it's Shroud and not Hexproof, this is really a good card, really emphasizes how much better Hexproof is than Shroud and how fair Shroud actually is. The ability, you actually can't put Rancor on the Hushblade is such a detriment to the card that, you know, it almost makes it so you almost don't want to play it in this deck, as weird as that sounds. So here, yeah, he just basically takes the game over with a Thorn and a Grey Merchant, and we pack it in. This seems like a terrible matchup, even with these Hushblades, and the more I play with the card, the more I'm just disappointed in it. So hopefully we can get something going here for round 3 with Cascade Aggro. Alright, so we're here for game, or match number 3, I should say. So we keep this hand. So this hand is pretty decent. Again, having this Firewild Borderpost with the Mountain, I will say of anything that we've done, this Firewild Borderpost plus Mountain interaction has felt decent. I don't know how powerful it is, but, you know, maybe more decks should be integrating this Borderpost strategy. So we have the Hackblade on 1 and attack in for 3. Drops down to 17. On his turn 2, he Searing Blazes our Hackblade. We played another Hackblade, attack him down to 14, and cast the Frenzied Goblin. On his turn, he casts a Firebrand Archers and Lightning Bolts our Hackblade, putting us down to 16. On our turn, we bolt his Archer and attack him for 4 with a Heelcutter and a Frenzied Goblin, putting him down to 10. His turn, he Chain Lightnings us down to 13. We played a Hushblade. This is the matchup where I thought Hushblade would be the best against the mono-red deck. We put him down to 9. He double Rift Bolts us down to 7. So here's the spot where I think I actually, like, it was a little tough, right? Like, we're at 7. He double needle drops us 2 cards in hand, and he casts a Thermo Alchemist. So here I'm left with this situation where I can Lightning Bolt the Thermo Alchemist, and then on my turn he's just dead, right? Or sorry, Lightning Bolt him, and then Heelcutter or Frenzied Goblin him, and he's just dead. And I think it was the right play. In hindsight, it turns out that he had a Fire Blast for this Heelcutter, unfortunately. So we Fire Blast the Heelcutter, puts us to 5. No cards in hand. I still think we're in pretty good shape here. He can't block, put him to 2. On his turn, he's looking for a Fire Blast. He finds Thornbow Archers. So we draw another Mountain. This time we attack, and we make it so the Firebrand Archer can't attack, which means he has to chump the Hushblade with his Alchemist. Deals us 1 down to 4, and we're on. He's on top deck to not die, essentially. Deals us 1 down to 4. Untaps and finds Searing Blaze, not even landfall, but that was good enough. So on to game number 2, trying to salvage a match here with Cascade Aggro. All right, so we're on the play. Here's a little risky, right? This is what we keep. It's actually insane. So we keep Mountain, triple Burning-Tree Emissary, Rip Clan Crasher with a Rancor and a Lightning Bolt. This hand, it looked good, right? We have the Lightning Bolt to fend off anything early if we miss a land drop for a turn, but if we hit that second land, our hand just explodes. So we play a Mountain. He plays a Forgotten Cave. On our turn, we miss our land drop, no problem. His turn, plays a Mountain, plays an Alchemist. We go ahead and Lightning Bolt that thing, end of turn, and boom, we draw the 4. Super huge. We actually get to explode on this turn. Burning-Tree Emissary, Burning-Tree Emissary, Burning-Tree Emissary into Rip Clan Crasher, attack you for 2, pass the turn, and here is... He slams down Martyr of Ashes. And if you're not familiar with Martyr of Ashes, it's 1 red for a 1/1. You can pay 2, and then you reveal X red cards from your hand, sacrifice it, and it deals X damage to each creature without flying. That might be one of the biggest beatings we have ever experienced on Pauper Ponderings, and does not waste any time, does it for 2, our entire board goes away, we're left with a hand of Rancors, and here to add insult to injury, we F6 on his turn, and get our guy Searing Blazed. We find a Hackblade, unfortunately it's just a 2-1, we don't attack it into the 1-2, he Lava Spikes us into Chain Lightnings us, attacks us for 2 with the Lava Runner. On our turn, we have an Ash Barrens. The Ash Barrens finds us a force. We double Rancor our Hackblade, attack him for 6. He goes to 12. His Riftbolt comes off suspend, puts us to 6. Has another Lava Runner, as well as a Fire Blast, and that is the game. So we end this week on a 0-3 run with Cascade Aggro. I'd love to talk about a couple of these decks, though, or a couple of these card decisions in just a little bit in the conclusion. Thanks for watching, guys. Well, the games did not go quite as well as we had hoped that they would. I have a couple things to say, though. The deck itself has some powerful things going on. I will say that. Mogg Fanatic is not a card I'm particularly a fan of. We obviously didn't play the matchups where we wanted this card. It's just a weak card nowadays. You know, maybe back in the day when it could trade with 2/2s, the cards may be okay, but now I just don't think it's very good. Kird Ape, I've always liked this card. Frenzied Goblin seemed a little bit slow. Actually, the biggest loser in this deck I thought was Naya Hushblade. This card just did not seem very good. The fact that you cannot Rancor it meant that it really, the Shroud was just not good enough. We saw in the matchup where we thought it was going to be good, they have 2 power creatures and they have a bunch of edicts, and really you're just kind of not good enough if you're just attacking in to trade with a creature that's already gotten value. You know, you're not gaining anything from that. At least the Hackblade has haste, and you can put the Rancor on it. The Rip Clan Crasher has haste, you can put the Rancor on it. Anything that you can put the Rancor on feels okay. The Hushblade, though, just really kind of stands out as this thing that should be better than it is, but it actually just does not play very well. Heelcutter, I've always liked this card. I think it's fairly decent in the Pauper format. The Violent Outburst seemed a little bit awkward. Very rarely did I have a huge sort of board in play where this thing was really good. I think there's a lot of just maybe inherent flaws in this deck, and I think just moving forward, there's some things that I like, and there's some things that I just don't think are very good. And if you're going to build kind of like a Gruul beatdown deck, I don't think you want to take very many things away from this deck, unfortunately. Burning-Tree Emissaries for sure. The Heelcutters probably. The Kird Apes probably. But other than that, and then obviously the Rancors and the Lightning Bolts. Other than that, I don't actually think this deck is very good. It looks a lot better on paper than it plays, I think. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Tell me down in the comments. Yeah, it's just I don't think this core of cards has what it takes to compete. The sideboard was fine. We didn't ever really board too much in other than the Flame Slashes, though. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. We got the Pro Tour coming tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoy that, and I'll see you all next week where we get the results of our first, I guess, side or part of the Tournament of Favorites, as well as a brand new Pauper Ponderings. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great weekend, and hopefully see you at the Pro Tour. No, I'm just kidding.